Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that nothing in your life has changed. The same alarm rings, the same excuses appear, the same routine repeats itself. You complain about your job, your finances, your health, your lack of opportunities, yet another day passes without a single meaningful action. Then another week goes by, another month, another year. At some point, you have to ask yourself a question that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Who is actually responsible for the life I'm living? The easiest answer is to point at someone else. People blame their parents for the way they were raised. They blame the economy for their financial situation. They blame bad luck, toxic friends, difficult bosses, a lack of resources, or simply bad timing. Every excuse sounds reasonable. Every explanation feels comforting because it removes responsibility from your shoulders. But here's the problem. The moment you hand responsibility to someone else, you also hand them the power to change your future. If your life is someone else's fault, then you're forced to wait for someone else to fix it. And that's one of the biggest traps a person can fall into. Think about the people who constantly complain. Listen carefully to the words they use. They say, if only I had more time. If only I had more money. If only people believed in me. If only things were fair. Notice something. Every sentence starts with the belief that success depends on something outside their control. That's why they stay stuck. Their focus is always on what they don't have instead of what they can do right now. Now imagine someone with a completely different mindset. This person doesn't have a perfect life either. They face setbacks, they experience failures, people disappoint them, plans fall apart. But instead of asking, why is this happening to me, they ask, what can I do next? That single question changes everything because it shifts attention from problems to solutions. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards action. Nobody gets successful because they had a difficult childhood. Nobody becomes respected because they suffered more than everyone else. People earn results by making decisions that most others refuse to make. That's why two people can face the exact same obstacle, and one uses it as fuel while the other uses it as an excuse. Maybe you've failed before. Maybe you've started 10 different goals and quit every single one. Maybe you've trusted the wrong people. Maybe you've wasted years doing things that brought you nowhere. Those facts are real. Nobody is pretending they didn't happen. But every single day you continue using yesterday as the reason you can't move forward. Yesterday gains even more control over your future. Personal responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that has ever happened. There are situations in life that you never chose. There are people who will hurt you. There will be unfair moments that make absolutely no sense. Responsibility means deciding that no matter what happened, you're still going to choose your response. You can't always control what life throws at you, but you always control who you become. Because of it, most people wait for motivation before taking action. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready. They'll work harder when they're inspired. They'll become disciplined once life becomes easier. But life doesn't work that way. Readiness is often created through action, not before it. Confidence comes after repeated effort, not before the first step. Waiting to feel ready is often another form of procrastination, wearing a different disguise. Look at every successful person you've ever admired. They all reached moments where giving up would have been easier. The difference wasn't talent, it wasn't luck. It was the decision to keep moving even when conditions weren't perfect. They accepted responsibility long before they saw results. They understood that nobody else was going to wake up early for them. Nobody else was going to exercise for them. Nobody else was going to build their business, improve their skills, or transform their mindset. Here's a reality that can either scare you or empower you. Every decision you make today is quietly creating the person you'll become tomorrow. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're voting for an average future. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, you're building a stronger version of yourself. These choices seem small in the moment. Skipping one workout doesn't feel important. Wasting 1 hour scrolling through your phone doesn't seem like a big deal. But repeated every day, those tiny decisions become your identity. Imagine driving a car while refusing to hold the steering wheel. Every time the car drifts off the road, you blame the weather. You blame the traffic. You blame the condition of the road. Meanwhile, the steering wheel has been in front of you the entire time. That's exactly how many people live. They keep blaming everything around them while ignoring the one thing they actually control. Their own choices. The most powerful moment in a person's life isn't when they become rich, famous, or successful. It's the moment they stop saying, "Someone should fix my life," and start saying, "It starts with me." That decision doesn't instantly solve every problem, but it changes the direction of every future decision. Instead of waiting for opportunities, you begin creating them. Instead of expecting rescue, you become your own solution. Instead of seeing obstacles as reasons to quit, you see them as tests that reveal the strength of your character every morning. You are given another chance to decide who controls your life. Not your fears, not your past, not the opinions of strangers, not your circumstances, you. The mirror reflects exactly one person capable of changing your future. And every choice you make either strengthens that person or weakens them. The life you dream about doesn't begin when the world finally becomes fair. It begins the moment you stop giving away responsibility and start acting like the author of your own story. Most people spend their entire lives chasing one thing they never truly understand. They say they want freedom. Freedom to travel, freedom to make money, freedom to wake up whenever they want, freedom to live without anyone telling them what to do. It sounds incredible, doesn't it? But here's the question almost nobody asks. If freedom is doing whatever you feel like doing, then why are so many people who live that way unhappy, unhealthy, broke, and constantly stressed? Think about it for a moment. If you wake up every day and only do what feels good in the moment, what happens? You skip the workout because your bed feels more comfortable. You order fast food because cooking healthy takes effort. You waste hours scrolling through social media because it's easier than working on your goals. You avoid difficult conversations because they're uncomfortable. Every decision feels good for a few minutes, but months later you're looking at a life you never wanted. That's not freedom. That's being controlled by your emotions. Here's the truth that many people don't want to hear. If your feelings control your actions, then your feelings are your master. Every day you become a servant to whatever emotion shows up. If you're tired, you quit. If you're bored, you stop. If you're scared, you avoid taking risks. If you're distracted, you forget your priorities. You're no longer making decisions based on where you want to go. You're making decisions based on how you happen to feel in that exact moment. Discipline changes everything because discipline allows you to act even when your emotions are working against you. It teaches you that your feelings are temporary, but your decisions create permanent results. The person who gets out of bed before sunrise doesn't always feel motivated. The entrepreneur building a business doesn't wake up excited every single morning. The athlete training for years doesn't love every workout. The difference is they refuse to let temporary emotions decide their permanent future. Imagine two people standing the same starting line. Both have the same dream. Both want success. The first person waits until they feel inspired before taking action. Some days they work hard, but most days they don't. Their progress is unpredictable because it depends entirely on their mood. The second person creates a routine and follows it, whether they feel excited or exhausted, rain or sunshine, good mood or bad mood, motivation or no motivation. They keep showing up. Now ask yourself, after 1 year, who do you think is closer to achieving their dream? The answer isn't complicated. Success belongs to consistency, and consistency belongs to discipline. Motivation is like the weather. Some days it's bright and powerful. Other days it completely disappears. If your future depends on something as unpredictable as motivation, then your future will always remain uncertain. People often think discipline is a punishment. They imagine strict routines, sacrifices, and saying no to everything enjoyable. They see discipline as something that takes away happiness. But what if the opposite is true? What if discipline is actually the thing that gives you the greatest freedom you'll ever experience? Think about financial freedom. It doesn't come from spending every dollar the moment you earn it. It comes from the discipline to save, invest, and think long term. Think about physical freedom. It doesn't come from eating whatever you crave every single day. It comes from the discipline to take care of your body so you have energy, strength, and confidence. Think about mental freedom. It doesn't come from avoiding every challenge. It comes from building the discipline to face problems instead of running from them. Every form of lasting freedom is built on discipline first. Without discipline, freedom slowly turns into chaos. Imagine giving someone complete freedom with no self-control. They stay up all night, ignore responsibilities, waste money, neglect their health, and eventually lose the very freedom they thought they had. Their lack of discipline becomes a prison. Your daily habits reveal who is really in charge of your life. When the alarm rings in the morning, who makes the decision? You or your comfort? When you know you should study, exercise, or work on your goals, who decides? You or your laziness? Every single day you're in a silent battle, and most people don't even realize it's happening. It's not a battle against other people. It's a battle between the person you are today and the person you're capable of becoming. Here's something powerful to remember. Every time you do something difficult on purpose, you're teaching your mind that you're the one in control. Every completed workout sends a message. Every chapter you read instead of wasting time sends a message. Every healthy meal instead of another excuse sends a message. That message is simple. I decide what happens next over time. These small victories begin to change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits. You stop thinking of yourself as lazy or inconsistent. You become someone who follows through. Confidence grows because you've proven to yourself that your actions no longer depend on your emotions. There will always be distractions. There will always be easier options. There will always be another excuse waiting to sound reasonable. The world is full of things competing for your attention because attention is valuable. The moment you lose control of your attention, you lose control of your time. When you lose control of your time, you slowly lose control of your future. That's why discipline isn't about making one big heroic decision. It's about making hundreds of small decisions correctly every single day. Choosing to wake up when the alarm rings. Choosing to finish the task before checking your phone. Choosing to keep your promises even when nobody is watching. Choosing to continue after failure instead of starting over every Monday. One day you'll look back and realize that the life you built wasn't created by occasional moments of inspiration. It was created by ordinary days where you chose discipline over comfort, consistency over excuses, responsibility over blame, and action over emotion. Until those choices became the foundation of the person you had always wanted to become, let me ask you something. When was the last time you willingly chose something difficult, not because someone forced you to? Not because you had no other option, but because you knew that doing something hard would make you stronger. Most people can't even remember. That's because modern life has been designed to make everything easier. Food arrives with a tap on your phone. Entertainment is available every second of the day. You never have to wait. You never have to struggle. You never have to be uncomfortable for very long. At first, that sounds like progress, but there's a hidden cost that almost nobody talks about. Comfort has become an addiction. The strange thing about comfort is that it never announces itself as a problem. It feels safe. It feels relaxing. It tells you to take one more day off, sleep a little longer, skip today's workout, delay that difficult conversation, and start tomorrow instead. It whispers instead of shouting. That's why it's so dangerous. You don't notice your life slipping away all at once. It disappears one comfortable decision at a time. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain. At the top is the life you've always wanted. Better health, more confidence, financial freedom, stronger relationships, a powerful mindset. The climb is steep and every step requires effort. Now imagine another path beside it. It's flat, smooth, and effortless. No sweat, no struggle, no risk. Which path do you think most people choose? The easy one. But here's the catch. The easy path never reaches the mountain. It simply circles the bottom until years pass and people wonder why they never got anywhere. Your comfort zone feels like protection, but it's often a cage with invisible walls. Inside that cage, everything feels familiar. You know exactly what to expect because nothing changes. The routines stay the same. The excuses stay the same. Even the dreams remain the same because they're never acted upon. People convince themselves they're being careful when, in reality, they're just avoiding growth. Growth has always required discomfort. Think back to every meaningful achievement in your life. Learning to ride a bicycle meant falling. Building friendships meant risking rejection. Passing difficult exams required long nights of studying. Getting stronger in the gym meant pushing muscles beyond what felt comfortable. Every improvement came from stepping into situations that challenged you. So why do people suddenly expect success to arrive without discomfort? The answer is simple. They've confused comfort with happiness, Real happiness doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from overcoming them. There is a different kind of satisfaction that only exists after you've done something difficult. It's the feeling after finishing a hard workout. The relief after solving a problem you thought was impossible. The pride that comes from keeping a promise to yourself even when nobody else knew about it. Those moments can't be bought. They have to be earned. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is, "I'll do it when life gets easier." But life has never promised easier. Every stage of life brings different challenges. If you're waiting for a perfect moment, you'll spend your entire life waiting. Successful people aren't successful because their lives became comfortable. They're successful because they stopped expecting comfort before taking action. Think about a blacksmith shaping a sword. The metal doesn't become stronger by lying untouched on a table. It has to face intense heat. It has to be struck again and again with a hammer. It has to go through pressure that would destroy weaker material. Only then does it become something powerful. Human character works the same way. Pressure reveals strength. Challenges build resilience. Discomfort creates capability. Now look at what happens when people avoid every difficult experience. They become emotionally fragile. Small setbacks feel like disasters. Simple criticism destroys their confidence. Minor inconveniences ruin their entire day. Why? Because they've never trained themselves to handle discomfort. They've spent years escaping it. Instead, every time you choose comfort over growth, you're teaching your brain that temporary pleasure matters more than your future. Every time you avoid hard work because it's inconvenient, you're reinforcing a habit of retreat. Eventually, your mind begins expecting the easy way in every situation, and when real challenges arrive, as they always do, you feel completely unprepared. The strongest people aren't those who never experience fear or difficulty. They're the ones who stop running from it. They understand that discomfort is not an enemy. It's a signal that they're expanding beyond who they used to be. The first day in the gym feels uncomfortable because your body is adapting. The first public speech feels uncomfortable because your confidence is growing. The first business failure feels uncomfortable because you're learning lessons that success could never teach. Ask yourself this question. If everything in your life stayed exactly the same for the next 5 years, would you be proud of where you'd end up? If the answer is no, then something has to change. And change will never happen inside the boundaries of comfort. There comes a moment when every person must decide which pain they are willing to live with. The temporary pain of discipline, effort, rejection, and sacrifice, or the permanent pain of regret. One pain lasts for a short time and leaves you stronger. The other lasts for years because you spend your life wondering what could have happened if only you had been brave enough to take the first step. The people you admire didn't become extraordinary because life was easy for them. They became extraordinary because they learned to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. They stopped treating hardship as a warning sign and started seeing it as proof that they were moving in the right direction. While others searched for shortcuts, they embraced the long road. While others looked for excuses, they looked for opportunities hidden inside difficult moments. While others protected their comfort, they invested in their future, knowing that every uncomfortable decision made today was building a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of themselves with every passing day. Have you ever noticed how some people walk into a room with absolute confidence? They don't seem to seek approval. They don't panic when someone disagrees with them. They don't fall apart after one failure. Most people look at someone like that and think they were born confident. But that's one of the biggest misconceptions you'll ever believe. Confidence is not a gift handed to a lucky few. It is the result of repeated actions, repeated discipline, and repeated victories over your own excuses. The problem is that most people try to build confidence in the wrong order. They tell themselves, once I feel confident, then I'll start the business. Once I believe in myself, then I'll go to the gym. Once I stop being afraid, then I'll take the opportunity. But confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence is created because of action. Imagine a person who has never stepped inside a gym. On the first day, they feel nervous. They think everyone is watching them. Every exercise feels awkward. They don't know what they're doing. If they quit after that first uncomfortable experience, they'll always believe they're not the type of person who belongs there. But if they keep showing up, something begins to change. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 6 months. They learn new skills. Their body changes. Their strength improves. Now they walk into the gym with confidence, not because someone gave it to them, but because they earned it through consistent action. Life works exactly the same way. Your mind is always collecting evidence about who you are. Every decision you make sends your brain a message. When you keep promises to yourself, your brain starts believing that you're reliable. When you quit every time something gets difficult, your brain starts believing that you're weak. Your identity isn't built by what you say. It's built by what you repeatedly do. That's why daily actions matter so much. People often wait for one huge breakthrough that will change everything overnight. They imagine one big opportunity, one lucky moment, or one life-changing event. But the truth is much simpler. Great lives are built through ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. Think about a bricklayer building a house. If you walk past on the first day, you might see only a few bricks on the ground. It doesn't look impressive. On the second day, there are only a few more. Still nothing remarkable. But imagine the bricklayer refusing to work because the house isn't finished after 1 week. That would make no sense. He understands that every single brick matters because each one contributes to the final structure. Your mindset is built exactly the same way. Every disciplined morning is another brick. Every difficult task completed is another brick. Every promise kept to yourself is another brick. Day after day, without even realizing it, you're building the foundation of an unbreakable mind. The challenge is that these small actions rarely produce immediate rewards. That's why so many people quit. They exercise for a week and expect a new body. They study for a few days and expect mastery. They save money for 1 month and expect financial freedom. When instant results don't appear, they assume their efforts aren't working, but success has never worked like that. Progress is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Picture a giant tree growing from a tiny seed. For a long time, almost nothing seems to happen above the ground. If someone judged the process too early, they might think the seed had failed. What they don't see are the roots growing deeper every single day. Those invisible roots are preparing the tree to stand through storms that haven't even arrived yet. Your daily habits are your roots. Every time you choose consistency instead of excuses, you're strengthening something inside yourself that other people cannot see. They might not notice your discipline today. They might not recognize your effort this month, but eventually the results become impossible to ignore because everything built in private eventually shows itself in public. One of the greatest battles you'll ever fight isn't against other people. It's against the voice inside your own mind, the voice that says you're not good enough, the voice that reminds you of your past failures. The voice that tells you to quit because nobody will notice if you stop. That voice becomes louder every time you break your own promises. Think about how trust works in relationships. If someone repeatedly lies to you, eventually you stop believing them. The same thing happens between you and yourself. Every time you say, "I'll wake up early tomorrow," but don't, your subconscious notices. Every time you promise you'll start working on your goals, but choose distraction instead, your mind remembers. Slowly, you lose trust in yourself. Now imagine the opposite. You decide to wake up at 6 in the morning and you do it. You promise yourself you'll read for 30 minutes and you keep that promise. You decide to exercise 4 times this week and you complete every session. Little by little, your subconscious starts believing something powerful. When I say I'm going to do something, I actually do it. That belief creates confidence. No motivational speech can ever give you. Failure also becomes different. Most people see failure as proof that they should stop. Mentally strong people see failure as information. They ask better questions. Instead of saying, "Why am I not good enough?" they ask, "What can I improve?" Instead of allowing one mistake to define them, they use it as another lesson. They understand that every expert was once a beginner who refused to quit after making mistakes. The strongest mindset isn't one that never experiences doubt. It's one that refuses to let doubt make the final decision. Courage doesn't mean fear disappears. Courage means taking the next step while fear is still standing beside you. Resilience doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you become harder to break. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to prove something, not to the world, not to strangers, but to yourself. Every ordinary day holds dozens of moments where you either strengthen your character or weaken it. The choices appear small in the moment, but they quietly shape the person you become. Over time, those repeated actions create a mindset that doesn't depend on luck, praise, or perfect circumstances because it has been forged through discipline, strengthened by consistency, tested through setbacks, and reinforced every single time you chose to move forward when quitting would have been easier. Take a moment and imagine two people standing in exactly the same place today. They have similar backgrounds, similar opportunities, and similar dreams. Fast forward 10 years. One of them has built a life filled with confidence, financial stability, strong relationships, and purpose. The other is still making excuses, still waiting for the perfect opportunity, still talking about what they could have done. What created such a massive difference? It wasn't one lucky break. It wasn't one magical decision. It was the direction they chose every single day. The future is never created all at once. It is created in small moments that most people ignore. Many people spend their lives reacting instead of leading. They wake up because the alarm forces them to. They go to work because bills demand it. They answer messages as soon as their phone vibrates. They let social media decide where their attention goes. They let other people's opinions determine how they feel about themselves. Their entire day is controlled by outside forces, and then they wonder why they never feel like they're truly living their own life. Ask yourself an honest question. Who is making the decisions in your life? Is it really you? Or is it your habits, your fears, your distractions, your comfort, your environment? If someone else can control your attention, they can eventually influence your direction. And if they influence your direction, they influence your future. The people who achieve extraordinary results understand something that most people never learn. They don't wait for life to happen to them. They decide where they're going before the world tries to distract them. They wake up with intention. They know what matters. They know what deserves their energy. Every important decision is made with the future in mind instead of temporary emotions. Imagine being the captain of a ship sailing across the ocean. Suddenly, strong winds begin pushing the ship in random directions. If you let the wind decide where you go, you'll eventually become lost. But if you have a destination, a map, and the discipline to keep adjusting the steering wheel, you'll continue moving toward your goal no matter how powerful the storm becomes. Life works exactly the same way. Every day brings unexpected problems. Plans change. People disappoint you. Opportunities disappear. New obstacles appear without warning. You cannot control every storm, but you can control the direction of your ship. That's what separates leaders from followers. Leaders make adjustments without abandoning their destination. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that the future will somehow be different without changing anything today. They hope next year will be better while repeating the same habits. They dream about success while protecting the routines that created failure. But the future doesn't reward wishes. It rewards preparation. Think about planting a tree. You don't plant a seed today and expect shade tomorrow. You water it consistently. You protect it. You remain patient because you understand that today's actions are creating tomorrow's results. Every meaningful goal works exactly the same way. The business you want starts with today's effort. The healthy body you dream about begins with today's workout. The financial freedom you imagine starts with today's decisions. The confident version of yourself is built through today's discipline. There will always be people who spend more time predicting the future than preparing for it. They constantly worry about what might happen. They fear failure before taking the first step. They imagine every possible problem, but never imagine themselves overcoming those problems. Their minds become trapped in endless uncertainty. The strongest people think differently. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" they ask, "What if I succeed?" Instead of fearing challenges, they prepare for them. Instead of hoping life becomes easier, they become stronger. That's the mindset that creates lasting success because it focuses on what can be controlled instead of what cannot control. Begins with your thoughts, but it doesn't end there. It extends into every habit you repeat, every book you choose to read instead of wasting time, every conversation you choose to have instead of complaining, every skill you decide to learn, every hour you invest instead of consuming endless distractions. These choices may seem insignificant on a single day, but together they create an entirely different future. Many people underestimate the power of small decisions because they only notice dramatic changes. They forget that mountains are climbed one step at a time. Businesses are built one customer at a time. Strong bodies are built one workout at a time. Great reputations are built one honest decision at a time. Life doesn't usually change in one spectacular moment. It changes through thousands of ordinary moments that most people overlook. There will always be voices telling you to settle. They'll say your dreams are unrealistic. They'll encourage you to lower your standards. They'll remind you how difficult success can be. But remember this, those voices don't have to live with the consequences of your decisions. You do. At the end of your life, you won't regret the opinions you ignored. You'll regret the opportunities you ignored because you listened to fear instead of conviction one day. The future you've been imagining will no longer be in front of you. It will become your present reality. When that day arrives, you'll either thank your younger self for making difficult decisions or wish you had taken control when you still had the chance. Every sunrise offers a fresh opportunity to shape what comes next. Every decision is another vote for the person you're becoming. Every action is another brick in the future you're building. The people who leave a lasting impact on the world are rarely the ones with the fewest obstacles. They are the ones who decide that no obstacle, no distraction, and no temporary setback will ever be allowed to take the steering wheel away from the vision they have chosen to pursue with relentless focus and unwavering commitment. The truth is simple. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting and start deciding. No one else can build your discipline, face your fears, or create the future you dream about. Every excuse keeps you exactly where you are, but every courageous decision moves you one step closer to the person you're capable of becoming. The power has never been somewhere else. It has always been in your hands. So when this speech ends, don't let these words become another source of temporary motivation. Let them become the beginning of permanent action. Stand up, take responsibility, embrace discomfort, build unshakable discipline, and make choices that your future self will thank you for. The best version of your life isn't waiting for the perfect moment. It begins the moment you take back control,